What has this administration done for you? Illegals, fentanyl, guns, and hatred. What's up, everybody? Welcome aboard to Bubba's Bottom Line for Sunday, the 18th of February. And remember, tomorrow is a holiday, so there'll be no trade. Well, they'll be trading electronically, but no trading markets are not open. As in the old days, the floor trade. But as we said, what has this administration done for you? Well, it has brought in an overwhelming number of illegals that is totally against the law. The laws that, of course, President Obama put into play in 2008. But, of course, let's ignore the laws and continue to bring in votes. Bring in illegals, because we're going to continue to do this, and we're going to allow them to tap the resources of America. We're going to have them tax the taxpayer, and we're going to have them destroy the voting system and the political system in this country, which is already on the outs anyways. But of course, and then there's the fentanyl that is brought in with these illegals, along with the illegal guns. And of course, our hearts and thoughts and condolences go out to those in Kansas City, to the tragedy, which we'll get into in our commentary later. But this has been a tragedy of what we've been watching, as we've seen this administration destruct and take apart the middle class piece by piece. And as you understand, if you can see, the bar of what determines the middle class continues to rise, making it harder to achieve. We've got unreal inflation that they continue to tell us is dropping. And if you've been to the grocery store lately, you know that it is not the facts. We have the extra pumping up of the buy now, pay later programs, which really all that does is allow the middle class to get deeper and deeper in debt as they get sucked into buying things they can't afford because they're getting time to pay for it, and they're hoping that maybe they'll be able to pay for it. So what you've seen a major destruction of the middle class. You've seen a major destruction of the ability to own homes. And if you think there's a rate cut coming, you better think again. There's a higher probability of a rate hike because, of course, if you believe the bullshit numbers that our government reports, well, then you cannot believe that there's going to be a rate cut. Because the numbers do not add up. I mean, they've tapped out the consumer with the real estate. We saw the retail sales the other day that just collapsed. The consumer is tapped out. The middle class is basically tapped out, living paycheck to paycheck. And of course, at the end of the day, this is a situation that is been vile, because of what we have seen done in this country, which has done nothing but benefit big companies, big corporates. As President Biden complains about the big conglomerates, he's feeding them with the other hand. We have another big package of cash going to Ukraine, which is a joke. How much more money are they going to steal through the lobbyists and through everything else because we continue to fund a war that's never going to end? And of course, we all know that wars are meant to be profit centers. Okay. And of course, we said this the day it happened, the day that COVID was announced, that it was a bullshit disease that was created in a lab in Wuhan, and it was more chemical warfare. Well, once again, the Wuhan cover-up and the rise of the bio warfare, which is what we called it back in the day, okay, in 2020. And of course, it is being, each and every day, there is being more evidence that COVID was a manufactured disease, that is just a total bunch of bullshit. And of course, it's to help the pharmaceutical companies. It's to help fund the big companies. And it is total crap. And even the numbers don't bear out what we're watching. And again, all you have to do is look at cold and flu before COVID and the percentage increase annually, and then look at cold, flu, and COVID after, and you will see virtually the same numbers and the same increase. So, of course, the classification of COVID got hospitals more money, got doctors more money, and it fucked the middle class as usual. Okay. We can see that the administration is basically looking for civilizational suicide as they continue to destroy the free Americans. Our freedom of speech, our freedom of act is being taken away piece by piece, piece by piece. Okay. And it is ridiculous that we have Biden upset with Israel, our number one ally. That makes a lot of sense. Again, and of course now you're looking at the inability for you to own a home. You got small homes that you'll be living in. You'll be living in basically shoeboxes as we continue to watch the destruction of the middle class of people. And of course, the jobs numbers that they continue to tell us how good they are. Well, again, if you like government jobs, okay, which is not helping the growth of this country because government creates debt, not growth, you're seeing this total wipeout, okay, which is taking care of the consumer and taking care of and allowing the squad and the rest of our administration to make shit out of Americans and turn us into basically either a communist, a Marxist, or a socialist country. And if that's what you want, if that's why you're here, well, then America is not the greatest country in the world. If we're going to continue to allow illegals to flow in, if we're going to continue to allow the destruction of the middle class, if we're going to continue to allow the destruction of capitalism and the ability to make a living, all we are really doing is turning this into a sewer, which if you look at cities like San Francisco, Chicago, look at their airports, look at what's going on. What are you seeing? You're seeing a sewer. Okay. And unfortunately, the sewer is where we are expected to live. And I think that between all the backroom dealings that have gone on between the pharmaceutical companies, between big oil and the government, and between everybody else, all they're really doing is fleecing the middle class out of their money. And to me, it's about time we say stop, because here we are in an election year with a president that has no clue where he's at, with a vice president who is dumber than dumb, and yet we're continuing to let these things pass by. Of course, again, the other side of the aisle is no bargain either, so I am not going to totally defend it, but why is there so much press coverage? Why is it that they are after Trump like no other human being ever? We have never seen the attack on one person. Are they that afraid that Trump is going to be reelected as the president of the United States? Think about the amount of money and attention paid to one person versus everybody else in the world, and ask yourself that question. This is Bubba's Bottom Line. It is Todd Bubba Horowitz. It is Sunday, the 18th of February. We're going to stop out here for a break, and we'll be back with our market update right after the break. What's up, kids? Well, just of course, I want to remind you of our sponsors and some of the things that we do. And of course, yesterday we had our webinar on our SPY strategy, and certainly something for you to check out. A very simple way to get involved in the options market. But of course, our sponsors, Trade Your Brokerage, which again, first of all, it's $10 a month, which is laughable on its own, but $10 a month for brokerage fees, really terrific. And of course, we're going to beat that. And it also works with our automation. If you'd like to use it, there is no charge for our equity portfolio automation. And we do charge a licensing fee for our hedging. But at $10 a month, it pays for everything else. And certainly they got great customer service. Check them out. Try.trader.com/Bubba. Just scrolling on the sides here. And there's Capital Trading Group, who's our partner in many of our programs. And of course, the greatest futures and commodities broker who gives you the greatest service. Check them out. Info.capitaltradinggroup.com/Bubba. And of course, our new alliance with Well Charts, which is a great organization with great software as well. Check them out, scrolling on the sides. And of course, don't forget about our high school program, which again is back in action. And we're trying to help educate our youth. So check it out along the bottom. In the meantime, let's get back to Bubba's Bottom Line and our market update for the week. Welcome back. It is Bubba's Bottom Line. It is Sunday, the 18th of February. And of course, markets had an interesting week. Some winning streaks were kept, some were lost, but we're still very wild. If you ask me, it appears that the markets may be finding a temporary top. We are not going to call the official top, but it does appear. And I think if we don't take out the recent high, we'll probably see some more selling. We were having a good week until Friday afternoon when everything just fell apart. But that's part of the business, and we don't worry about it. Basically, our net positions as of today would be long the four major indexes still. And I don't have flat in positions now because it is the weekend, so we'll see how they look on Tuesday. But for now, we would be long the four major indices. Okay, we would be if we traded the dollar, and the reason we don't trade the dollar is a cost issue with New York. Now it has nothing to do with whether we like the dollar or don't like the dollar. We would be long the dollar, which was higher. The euro currency we are short, and Bitcoin we are long. The bonds and notes we are short, which does tell you that interest rates are probably going higher. Again, there's no rate cut forthcoming as far as we can see. In the metals, we're going to reverse silver. You can do that either tonight, tomorrow, or Tuesday to long. We'll remain short gold here. Platinum, which we don't trade, but we would be short. Copper, we're going to reverse from short to long. Again, tonight, tomorrow, or because you can trade over the next 3 days if you want, tonight and tomorrow, or wait for Tuesday. In the crude oil we are short. Natural gas we are short, which continues to really get hammered. In the grain markets we are short across the board still, and I do think there'll be some kind of big rally here. There's some very big issues in here as we look at it, but again, right now there is no buyers; they sell them only. And of course, in the meats, cattle, we've been fighting the tape on the long, but we don't trade them anymore. I've been giving you my position, which is short. Hogs, we would be long. And in the softs, cocoa, we're long. Sugar, we're long. OJ, we're short. Coffee, we're long. And cotton, we're long. And I think that, again, this is a pretty big week probably as far as if we're going to either take the tops out and continue to run, or we're going to find a temporary top here. But as we start approaching the expected rate cut time, which is March, which is not going to happen, this whole rally was built on the thought of rate cuts. So if they're not going to cut them, what's that going to mean? Well, we'll see. Again, this is always the interesting dynamics of a market. The push up in the markets. I mean, you saw some wild moves. You've got some big earnings this week. And I think at the end of the day, let's see how the market plays out, but it certainly wouldn't surprise us if we do have at least a temporary top in place. In the meantime, this is Bubba's Bottom Line, top Bubba Horowitz. We'll step out here for our final break and come back with our commentary right after the break. Bubba's Bottom Line. Well, kids, of course, again, I'm not going to go through the whole speech, but remember our partners, Trade Your Brokerage, Capital Trading Group, and Well Charts, all screwing on the sides, and of course our high school program on the bottom. And in the meantime, let's get back to Bubba's Bottom Line and my commentary right now. Welcome back. It is Bubba's Bottom Line. It is Todd Bubba Horowitz. It is Sunday, the 18th of February. And, obviously the tragedy at the parade in Kansas City, the shooting, and of course, everybody's out in outrage about guns once again. And I want to ask you the question. Okay, now I never owned a gun until I was 64 years old, but I do own guns now, and I'm certainly not giving them up. I do have them legally. But I want to ask you is, if you're going to let in so many illegal immigrants, do you think they're coming in unarmed? When you're letting in criminals and you're having sanctuary cities, do you think those people are unarmed? If we go back in history, the criminals will always get the guns. It is not the idea to take the guns away from those who own them legally. It is to take them away from those who don't own them legally, who are not stable enough, which means that, like our border system, maybe we should do a better checking up of those who are buying the guns, and maybe our government should quit worrying about stealing the middle class's money and take care of the business that they're supposed to be doing, which is, first of all, to keep the borders shut, okay, to make people come in legally, and not to let them in, especially the people that we don't want here for sure, the criminals. We don't need to import our own criminals. We have enough here. But if you've watched what has happened during this administration, and you can say what you want about President Trump, but I've never in my 66 years seen as much hate and as much tragedy that I've seen under the administration of President Joe Biden. I think that this has been a horrible administration. I think they've done a ridiculously bad job at taking care of the Americans and taking care of the people that are here. I think they have flooded us with illegals and had us pay more money for more shit that we don't need, which is illegal immigration. And it's about time we close the borders and stop importing criminals with guns and fentanyl that is affecting our children in this country. And again, we have to stand up as Americans and say, enough. You're not a Republican or a Democrat. You're an American first. And if you want your kids involved with all this shit, then you'll let it continue. If you want to bring your kids up in a safer, better country, you'll step up at the polls and you'll say, enough. I can't take it anymore. I'm tired of not being able to go to a parade and have shooting, okay, by a bunch of idiots. So think about it from that point of view. And this is Bubba's Bottom Line, Top Bubba Horowitz. No football today, so have a great weekend. And we'll see you back here on Tuesday with Bubba's Daily Update because, of course, tomorrow is a holiday. Bubba's Bottom Line. Have a great weekend, everybody. We'll see you later.